I think any person could say, they could look at the entertainment industry and they could look at Hollywood and they could say, you know what? There's a lot wrong with Hollywood right now. You could probably list a bunch of different reasons why Hollywood has been failing over the past several years. I don't know if this is one of them, though, because one group of people out there says that one of the problems in Hollywood, someone needs to fix, is there's just not enough gay representation in Hollywood, of all places, despite so many movies and TV shows that are being completely ruined in some cases with forced diversity, forced representation, all of these different things that people have to hammer into every single product. The idea that Hollywood's not gay enough probably wouldn't be very high in the list of problems that most people would list. Unless you're an organization that's all you care about. You don't care about box office results. You don't care about the quality of the product. You don't care about fans walking away. All you care about is making sure there's enough check marks in movies. And that is GLAAD. GLAAD screeches at Hollywood for declining queer representation and pans Amelia Perez. And here's another headline on the wrap. LGBTQ movies hit 3-year low in Hollywood, study says. And then even the movie that so many critics decided to shill for, that probably would have won an Academy Award for Best Picture if the star hadn't come out and been exposed with old tweets and stuff like that, even though the audience absolutely despised the movie, and that's Amelia Perez, a Mexican transgender gangster that was one of the most panned movies of the year. That if that controversy hadn't happened, they would have handed Best Oscar to this thing just because of representation. And even they are calling it out. Let's get into this thing. Radical LGBTQIAAP2S plus activist group GLAAD is scolding Hollywood as inclusion of gay and transgender characters and stories dropped to a 3-year low. The group only gave one film studio a passing grade for inclusion this year, and that would be A24, which obviously a much smaller studio than some of these bigger ones. So they're screeching at the top of their lungs because the gay representation is dropping in these movies and the way that they want them to, blah, 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 all this stuff. You know what they never talk about is how successful any of these movies are. At the end of the day, people want good stories. Bottom line, period. People will show up for good stories if it's a white protagonist. People will show up for good stories if it's a black protagonist. People will show up for good stories if there's a gay protagonist. But the problem is, so often when it comes to these movies, they want to force something in there, and it's not a good story, right? Because that's not what comes first. The story isn't comes first. The propaganda is what comes first. And that's what people have a problem with. And a lot of studios are seeing what's going on, and maybe they're thinking, wow, we really hopped into this. Maybe we should start stepping back out a little bit. But GLAAD, the activists, they're not going to have that. The group released its latest so-called Studio Responsibility Index. They actually do this. They grade every single studio based on how many gays there are and if they're in the proper roles or not and all of this stuff. And they give passing, failing, insufficient, poor grades, fair grades, all of this stuff. They think they're very, very important. And they aren't happy with the outcome. Out of all the studios they rated, GLAAD claims to have only found one that wins their seal of approval. The studio, A24, is the only studio to earn a good rating for 2024. The studio produced several explicitly degenerate films, including Love, Lies, Bleeding, and Queer. The advocacy group says the number of queers in film dropped 23.6% over the number in 2023. GLAAD President and CEO Sarah Kate Ellis said Hollywood has chosen the wrong time to pull back on representation for the LGBTQ plus movement. Quote, at a time where LGBTQ people are facing unprecedented attacks in politics and news media, film must be a space for visibility and truth. Representation isn't about checking a box. It's literally what this report is, by the way. Literally what the report is. Because it's not about whether the movie's good. It's not about whether a movie's successful. It's just whether it has a dude who wants to suck somebody else's dick in it. That's what it's about. That's what your list is. That's what it represents. Isn't that funny? It's about whose stories get told, whose lives are valued, and creating worlds that mirror our own society today. GLAAD also blasted the transgender film Amelia Perez, despite its wide celebration by Hollywood elites. The group claims The film does not treat the issue of transgenderism seriously and calls it a case study in what not to do when it comes to trans storytelling. Amelia Perez is extremely disappointing, and its heavy promotion from Hollywood shows just how much more education needs to be done with Hollywood film executives. So yes, they reviewed all these studios. A24, the only one with the passing grade. I can't say I'm exactly shocked by that. But of all the problems in the industry, of all the problems in Hollywood right now, I don't think that it's not gay enough is one of them.